Hello, this is Arca, just a French guy doing some stuff. This is my first public project on YouTube, and I'm very happy and excited to share with you this project. To be honest, this is one of the very first things that I wanted to do the day I could afford a 3D printer. I'm a big fan of the Final Fantasy series, but I played the 14th less than a year. But it allowed me to discover this headquarter guild decoration. I completely fell in love with the design. Before we go on the first part, be sure to subscribe to my little channel. As this is a big project that took me a lot of time, I feel like a 5-minute video is not enough to cover the whole project. So there will be more episodes to come. Stay tuned! According to my folder's history, the Cactuar Light project was created in March 2019. Now is 2021. The fact is, I'm an IT engineer, not a 3D designer. And yes, this was the first time I used a 3D software. Okay, to get a general idea of the scale, I started to create the base using only papers and tapes. Once I got some initial measurements, I started to draw the base using the software. The base and the main bulb were not that difficult, as you can create extruded parts on a horizontal plane. I learned how to do circular pattern and the offset that you have to add on every faces to allow the assembly. This was so time consuming. Things start to be more difficult when I had to create those little ornaments on the bulb subcap. The plan is neither horizontal nor vertical. I started to do something very ugly and I had already spent months just to arrive at this step, working the night for 2 or 3 hours in my free time. Naturally, I started to lose my motivation and I wondered if I should do a break to gain some experiences on easier projects. This is what I have finally done. I took a huge break on this project for about a year and a half. During this time, I printed some minis for Dungeons and Dragons, and I publicly released my first project on 3D print websites. Make sure to check my video's description if you want to see those projects. In spring 2020, I finally found some motivation to resume my work on the Cactuar Light project. Guess what? I magically solved all my problems. I redid the ornament on the subcap in less than an hour and I successfully drew those bulb leaves in a week. Well, enough with 3D software stuff. Let's talk about the crafting process. I designed the whole structure to be easily printed without support and to create a fun moment like when you assemble your Gundam or your Lego. It will also allow you to reprint parts quickly if something breaks during the crafting process or during its future life. The lead that you can see here is the first version with all plots directly integrated in the plate. This was a huge fail as it required a lot of support. But because nobody wants to waste its filament, I tried to clean up this piece. But yeah, okay, I finally threw away this version. The base and its lead are simple to print, but they are the longest ones. I wisely separated those plots around the lead to create something flat to print without any support. This is clearly something that I did not originally design at the beginning. This is something I added when the entire design was done and I started to print parts. While plots are printing, let's take a look at the bulb's base. With my 3D printer, the crown of this object did not come out perfectly. There are little gaps just behind the arc's position. I think the wall was too thin for my 3D printer and I was too confident with my 3D slicer. I made a mistake by not checking the preview, which would allow me to see these gaps. Well, I decided to leave it like that as this is not very important and it gives me an interesting look. Back to the base. Now that the plots are printed, it's time to glue them. Nothing more to say here, so I will let you enjoy the music. I have to make sure that plots are glued together into the right position. I glued only one plot at a time and I immediately put the lid on the base to adjust the plot position. I had to sand down those plots many times to get a nice fit into the base. Obviously, I corrected the offset on my 3D model afterward. So let's go to the next part with the bulb's arcs. They are designed with an integrated race to insert the final green sheet. I must say the structure around this part is a little complicated, and while I was cleaning them I already knew that I was gonna have a bad time with this part at the end. These are the kind of pieces that can be very fragile if you print them in the wrong way. When you use a FDM 3D printer, you have to consider the force that will be applied to your object. In my case, the bulb must support the Cactuar weight. If I print an arc vertically, you may think it's easier, because in this position you don't need any support except a little brim on the base to increase the adhesion to the build plate. But as you can see here, the way the filament is printed is horizontally, which means you can easily break the arc like a brick tower. By laying the arc on the build plate, now the filament runs all along its body, and I think now that you all understand that this is way stronger. I wanted a model that can be easily repaired by allowing it to be easily disassembled. That's why I needed to find a way to assemble the bulb without any kind of glue. It took me several hours to figure out how could I do that while keeping the original design. Finally, I successfully created a mechanism to hold the top in place without any glue. The arcs, the subcap and the ring cap are interlocked. The subcap is suspended below arcs and they are themselves maintained by the ring cap. I was very happy to see how it came out. I didn't even print any prototype for this, and I think I will definitively not use any glue for this part. I think it's time to end this first episode of the Cactuar Light project. While I'm letting you appreciate the hand at normal speed, do not forget to subscribe to this channel if you don't want to miss the next episode. I really hope that you enjoyed my video more than my English accent, and that's all. See you next week. Bye bye.